Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture Down Under. Today I'm going to be doing an overview of the Slipcase edition of the Doomsday Clock hardcovers. So let's dive straight in. So firstly, we get the slipcase and you get this with volume 2, okay? So it comes in two parts and you can see you've got volume 1, you've got volume 2 in the slipcase. When you go to the comic book store or buy it online, and you get the slipcase edition, it'll come with volume 2 and there will be a cardboard sort of frame in there for masquerading as volume 1. So you will need to also purchase volume 1 separately to put this set together. Originally I wasn't going to buy this as it is only a standard size. They have a trade paperback coming of the whole 12 issues of Doomsday Clock in a sort of a ultimate complete collection style. That comes out relatively soon. And also, look, this is one of the flagship DC titles over the last few years. I would be very surprised if we don't see a beautiful absolute edition of this in the near future. So originally I wasn't going to buy this set, but I found volume 1 on an Australian group on Facebook for a really good price, secondhand. And I found the slipcase edition at my LCS still relatively reasonably priced despite COVID. So I thought I really want this series, so I jumped in and got them. If they do an absolute, will I upgrade it? Yes, because Gary Frank's art in this series is sublime. So we can see examples of it here on the slipcase. On one side of the slipcase, we can see Superman in the background. We have a few of the Watchmen characters and Marionette and Mime, who are two new introductions from Jeff Johns. And on the other side, we get Dr. Manhattan in the background, and we get our DC characters. We've got obviously Batman, Black Adam, Green Lantern, Alan Scott, and Saturn Girl in plainclothes, and of course, Johnny Thunder. So, let's take a look at the volumes themselves, but before we do that, the actual spine of the hardcover is done in the Watchmen style. You've got the modern DC logo, the Watchmen Doomsday Clock, modified for Doomsday Clock with the Superman at the 12th hour, and we get the talent at the side here, written by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank, colours by Brad Anderson. Fantastic team. So, when we open up the slipcase, we get two hardcovers looking like so. And we can see that the cover art from volume 1 is used on the front of the box, volume 2 on the side, on the back of the box. So I really like the trade dress of these. We get the Doomsday Clock down the side, same font, same color scheme as your classic Watchmen trades that everyone's had 100 different versions of over the years. And when we flip them over and take a look at the back, very similar sort of situation. We get some samples of the artwork from different characters. It's all amazing. Now, cover price for this, if you grab the slipcase edition, you're going to pay $24.99 US, so roughly $45 in Australia from your LCS, and you'll get volume 2. And then you're in for another $24.99 for the original US. So that's why I put it together with one volume being secondhand. If I was paying $90 for this package, I don't think I would have purchased it. So let's take a look at volume 1 first. When you take off the dust jacket, underneath you get a shiny black cover with that Doomsday Clock logo that I pointed out before. Nothing on the spine, nothing on the back. It may or may not show up in the camera, but the black is very shiny on these hardcovers and it is prone to leaving fingerprints. So if you get a little bit OCD about that sort of thing, you might find yourself polishing it a little bit. Now, let's get it open. It's got glued binding, as we get with a lot of these DC hardcovers. So when you first open it, it will be a bit stiff. This one's been read once by its original owner and once by myself, so it opens pretty nicely. The paper quality is shiny, okay, but relatively thin, like a lot of the older DC hardcovers. And yeah, let's jump in. So we get each of the original covers, and we get, like in the original Watchmen, the first panel of each issue is part of the cover. And as we flip through, we can see the lettering has been kept consistent with the original Watchmen. So it is a very faithful addition to the Watchmen universe and DC universe as well. I found that it was respectfully done. Jeff Johns himself is a fantastic writer, and there is no one else besides Grant Morrison, in my opinion, who has a better knowledge of the DC universe. Is he the best person to write a sequel to Watchmen? No, that would obviously be Alan Moore. However, I think he would be cold, he'd be long in his grave before he would be doing that. But yeah, I think this is pretty much the best sequel we ever will get to Watchmen. You know, unless someone like Grant Morrison were to do it, but I think that Alan Moore would bust out his magic curses if that ever happened. So it really is a fantastic story. He uses a lot of the 9-panel grid that was used in the original Watchmen. And honestly, I think this might be some of Gary Frank's best work of his career. The way he draws Superman in particular, which we will see more of in the volume 2, he really does draw a Christopher Reeve style Superman. He looks exactly like Christopher Reeve, basically. So his Superman's probably, in my opinion, one of the best Supermans that anyone draws in modern comics. And yeah, we can see lots of this 9-panel grid. We get a fair share of the Watchmen characters. They get plenty of airtime, as well as the DC characters. And it's good in that Batman is in this story, but this is not a Bat-centric book at all. He really is in a secondary role. And this series is more about, one, giving us a little bit of a sequel to the Watchmen, but two, Jeff Johns really wants to try and reset the DC universe. So we get a good look at all different corners of the DC universe. So this here in particular, I don't want to spoil anything, but this meeting of all of the different villains that takes place in Gotham is fantastic. You get Gary Frank drawing all of these classic villains. And yeah, this series does not shy away from violence at all. Each issue gives us some relatively substantial back matter, like in the original Watchmen books. We're not getting full chapters of prose or anything like that, like you would get from Alan Moore, but you do get some decent back matter that fleshes out parts of the story. So like in the original Watchmen, you need to read the back matter of each issue, and it plays a role in helping you to get the full picture of what's happening. And in the back of these hardcovers, we do get the alternate covers to each of the issues contained inside. And we can see those here. And then this takes a little bit of a look at the Ashcan edition of Volume 1, and that's it. You'll notice a trend as well in the bookend pages. We go from stark black to black with a little bit of red here. And then when we jump into the next book, we'll see that continuing. So let's whip off the dust jacket of Volume 2. Volume 2, we get an all black cover, and then we get the midnight logo for Doomsday Clock on the back, pointing to Superman. Now, let's open it up, and we can see that on that book, those bookend pages, the blood flow, or what looks like blood flow, is coming further down. And that trend continues on the other side. And then we keep going through. All of this design is consistent with the first hardcover. You can see Volume 2 is a bit stiffer. I bought this one new. I've only read through it the once. And then we jump right in, and we get straight back into our 9-panel grid. More Gary Frank. Let's get some Joker. Very interesting what the new Bubastis is like throughout the story. I'm not going to give many story spoilers, so all that and you might get some spoilers from looking at the pages, but I guess that's the risk that you take when you watch a video like this. So again, a bit more of that back matter, and this volume's where things really start to come together. We get more Dr. Manhattan, we get more Superman. It really is a slow burn of a series, but once things pick up, they really get going, and the conclusion may feel a bit rushed to some people, as Geoff Johns tries to do a lot towards the end, but honestly, I think he sticks the landing, and it's a shame that I don't know how much of this continuity that he's set up is going to be used in the future. It might be just a little bit of Geoff Johns continuity, but hopefully it gets used by DC. Though having read issues of Death Metal so far, it's acknowledged, but I would say that their use of Watchmen characters in Death Metal is definitely not as tasteful as what we see in this story. Yeah, and it just continues so well in my opinion. And seeing Gary Frank draw so many aspects of the DC universe is just, for someone like me, it's really a bit of a dream come true. So flicking through, and when we get closer to the back, I might skip forward to the back matter. I don't really want to spoil the last issue at all. Okay, so we get our covers again. This one with Rorschach 2 beating down the Joker is a good one. The covers, I mean, the covers have spoilers in some ways, so yeah. And then that's it. We just get some bios about Geoff Johns and Gary Frank, and by the end, our bookend pages reveal a little bit of a spoiler. So I'm not going to show those here. All right, so overall, I'll pop the dust jacket back on later. Overall, it's really a fantastic read, and I recommend that everyone reads this in some format or another. Whether you want to pick up these hardcover editions or whether you want to wait for an absolute, that's up to you. Definitely, the artwork warrants an absolute, and I really think we will get one. If you're stupid like me and you want to double dip, it is worth it. But yeah, I think the smart money is definitely on an absolute coming in the near future. All right, guys, thank you once again for joining me for this video. My next video is going to be taking a look at the Dark Knight 3 Master Race Absolute Edition. So please join me for a look at that fantastic book in a few days or so. See you next time. Bye.